Welcome to the Be Gritty podcast, where sports psychology meets business strategy for entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Coach Holly. Now let's be gritty. First thing we're going to dive into here is why. Why do entrepreneurs have such a hard time resting? And, I think it's a lot of it is that that's who we are. We're go-getters in our nature. We like to do things. We like to get stuff done. We are really great at making lists and we love to check them off because we get dopamine hits every time that happens. And I think there is this thing in us that is always trying to achieve or get somewhere or become something or have something. We try to do so much and we have a hard time resting because we're never quite satisfied. We're always going after that next thing, becoming that next thing or hitting that next goal or that milestone. And that is good. That is part of what makes us who we are. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of what makes us entrepreneurs and athletes. Like that's just ingrained in us. But where it becomes bad or toxic in our lives is when we forget that you actually can't grow without rest. And Brad Stolberg, who has a podcast, The Growth Equation with Steve, he actually talks about, he coined the growth equation, which is stress plus rest equals growth. And as athletes, we know this, right? We take days off. Some people live by the no days off thing. Again, not a good thing to do. We don't want to go to extremes. And we typically do, though. As athletes, as entrepreneurs, we can go to these extremes where we're just all in or we're like on the couch eating potato chips. Like people ask me, like, what do you do if you're not running? I'm like, I'm literally laying on the couch eating potato chips because we go to these extremes and we have a hard time finding that balance of consistency without burnout. And we do that because our list never ends. And so how do we justify taking the time off to go, I need to rest right now? And so we push ourselves and we push ourselves and we push ourselves until something happens and forces us to rest. And sometimes that is sickness. Sometimes that is mental burnout. Sometimes that is our spouses or partners telling us like, hey, or our kids telling us, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. We need you back here. Like, you need to take a break, right? And it's good to have those people in our lives that can do that. And tell us and remind us that, hey, we need a break. And if we don't listen to our body and we don't listen to our mind and our mental health and we just railroad that thing over and over and over again, that's when we get sick and mental breakdowns and all these things because we didn't really prepare ourselves very well and rest very well. And the second piece of this is how to figure out when it's time to take a pause. And what I just said with like the mental and physical stuff, that can be a very obvious sign, but sometimes we don't listen. The other part is if we start to feel anxiety and we start to feel like, no, I have to do this. I have to get this done and I have to, and there's this anxiety behind it. There's a difference between anxiety and excitement, right? Like the pressure of you have to do this or you're going to fail versus the excitement and adrenaline of I want to do this and it's exciting. Like there is a difference there. They can often feel similar until you take a moment to step back and go, what am I actually feeling right now? Am I feeling anxiety and like bad pressure or am I feeling good pressure and excitement? Because your brain will actually release different chemicals and respond differently depending on which of those it is, right? If it's excitement and energy around like, this is something new and I'm really excited and I'm doing this and I'm excited to build this or finish this thing, then there's like that adrenaline rush. If it's this other thing over here of, well, I feel all this pressure and I have to, and I, if I don't, I'm going to fail or or no one else is going to do it, then that can kind of actually create that anxious fight or flight mode in you. And that's what starts to cause our body to shut down and our mind to shut down. And that burnout feeling starts to happen at that point. So how do you recognize when you need a pause and when you need a break? Well, part of this is a good way to practice this is actually doing it throughout your day and going, okay, let's take, am I feeling a lot of pressure around this meeting or around this moment or these tasks? Like, you can take a lot of anxiety out by just doing that, right? So as you're going through the week and as you're going through each day that you planned out, what are you feeling around the different meetings? What are you feeling around the different tasks? Are you feeling anxious or are you feeling excited? Are you feeling pressure or are you feeling the pull to do it? And as you go through your day, just take a minute. And there's a great article called The Power of, and it's this idea of just taking a pause every hour, like for a couple minutes, and just like kind of this centering yourself without being too woo woo, but just like going into your mind and body and going like, what am I feeling right now? I need to take a pause. I need to take a break. One of the practical ways I do this is like if I start to feel overwhelmed and I'm in a big content creation heavy day, which is, part of my job, is I will take a break and I'll go walk around the neighborhood. Seeing water for like 20 minutes a day can actually really help you mentally. But I will go over there and because it doesn't matter as long as it's water, right? I will go sit over there and look at it and for 20 minutes and it just helps me relax. Now you may not have 20 minutes in a meeting or maybe you don't have a pond in your neighborhood or whatever, but like just finding some way, like can you take a walk around your house outside? If it's too cold, that might actually be a good thing. There's some research on like just putting your face in cold water, or maybe you can put it in the snow for a second. Don't get frostbite, but just something to reset your nervous system and like get you out of that place of anxiety. That can really help reset you to tackle the next goal. Maybe it's just a breathing exercise or a meditation or going and getting a cup of coffee, getting up out of your office, moving your body. These are the things that can help you take these pauses and rest throughout the day. And as you start to notice throughout the day how you're feeling, you're going to start to notice when that builds up and you really need a rest period, like a longer break. Now, some people plan that around the holidays. There's other like entrepreneur groups that are like, go, go, go during the holidays. And I think that there's two ways to go about that. I think it's a good time to really dig in because a lot of people aren't. So depending on your business, this could be a really good time to dig in. And there might be a different time of the year that's better to rest. Maybe it's summer vacation when you guys can go on breaks and vacations and it's slower anyway in your business. That might be a good time to go on a vacation, take that longer rest period. I think it's really important every quarter to take a couple days and just rest, right? Like I try to have it where there's a day a week that I don't work. Like Sunday, I just took the whole day off work, spent time with my family. I didn't want to have my brain bogged down with strategy and all these things about growing my business or helping my clients. It's good to take that time and to set those boundaries. And if you don't set those boundaries, your clients or yourself will override that and you will work all the time and your family will pay for it. So you have to find that balance. You have to find like, okay, maybe I feel fine even working all this time, but how are my relationships doing? That's another way to recognize when you need to pause is how are my kids feeling? Are they acting out a little bit more these days? Do they need some time with me? Do I need to go like have a one-on-one date with my son or my daughter and just like spend some time with them? Does my spouse need more attention from me? And this can happen even as a marathoner, like all the training takes a lot of time, right? And then you add on building a business on top of that. Like I'm in a big sabbatical from running right now, partly due to health issues, but also like just to take time maybe with my family. The marathon cycle has ended for the trials. Like now is a great time to rest. So there's good times to rest and not great times to rest. And you have to find what that balance is for you and your family and in the cycles of your business, right? So kind of take an inventory, go through and say, what are the days I need to rest? Should I take a day off every week? Spoiler alert, I think you should at least take one day off every week. And then what am I doing every month or every quarter and every year? What are my planned rest days? Because if you don't plan for rest, you won't do it. As entrepreneurs, we just won't, right? So this has to become a priority. It has to be something that you actually take on and are intentional about. Otherwise, you will just run yourself into the ground. You have to plan. Even when I marathon trained, I took every Sunday off, or one day a week. If maybe I was sick one day, I'd move my run to Sunday, but I always had a 6-day training cycle. or 7-day cycle, 1 day off every week, right? That was how I did marathon training, and it was very important to me. And then after a marathon, I take 2 weeks off. These are planned cycles that I have to take, and I have coaches that help me make sure that I actually stick to that. Because even as a runner, we go, well, am I doing enough? Is it enough? Do I need to get an extra easy run in? Do I need to get an extra workout in? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? What can get me that 1% better? And half the time, the answer is rest. If you want to get 1% better, you need to rest. And it's when we don't do that that we actually cause a lot of problems in our relationships, in our business, in our health, in our mental health, and in just our physical ability to perform. Right. So that's kind of point number 2. How do I recognize that? Right. And what is the power of rest comes in. This is our third point here, is the power of rest really comes in when you start to be able to rest when you're resting. So that might sound, a lot of times people will go on vacations, entrepreneurs will go on vacation, and they'll be like, well, I'm resting, I'm on vacation, but they have their phone on them. They're checking Facebook, they're checking social media, Instagram, whatever. They're checking their email, they're doing all, they can't actually turn it off. And that's another sign actually of you not having the ability to rest, is that you can't even go on vacation with your family. You can't put the phone down after 5 o'clock at night. You can't, take a weekend off or a day off every week. That's a sign that you can't rest. And just so you know, your business is never going to run out of things for you to do, ever. So if you have this idea in your head that, well, if I just get to this point, if I just grow to this point, then I can chill out. If I just get to this revenue a month, then I can take a day off. You won't take a day off. You won't rest. If you don't establish that now, you won't do it later, because there'll be more to do when you make more money. There'll be more to do when you have more clients. There'll be more to do when your business grows. So if you don't bring the foundation now, then you're going to have a lot bigger problems later. So that's what I want you to think about. I want you to take a step back and go, what can I implement now? Because the power of rest is this. So when you go to bed every night, that's when your body heals itself, replenishes its stores that it used throughout the day, balances hormones and electrolytes and all the things. And your body starts to, your brain rewires itself. If you're not sleeping at night, your body's not able to do that. Your mind's not able to do that. That's why, some of how people would torture people is not let them sleep, right? A lack of sleep can really throw you off. You'll think thoughts you've never thought before. You'll do things you should have never done. You'll make poor decisions. Like, just getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night is hard for some of us, especially those of us that are parents and have little kids. That can be really difficult. But as much as you can prioritize sleep, you need to try. Okay. And then if you're in the season of babies and small kids and you can't do that, just know, like, this is just a season and you will get back to it. Don't feel guilty or pressure or whatever, because that'll just make you feel worse. Right. So get back to that place, though, of equilibrium eventually. And you got to know what season you're in. That's another point to this, is what season are you in with your business, with your family, all the things, but still find a way to get rest. When you finally create a plan for rest, you'll start to see, like, oh, I'm healthier. If you haven't been able to lose weight and that's something you want to do, if you get good sleep, that's going to help you that, right? Your body resets. So just think about, if your body resets every night with sleep, what would your body need to do and your mind need to do every week, every month, every quarter, every year to reset and to heal and to propel you forward? Because if you don't take those rest times, I promise you one thing, you will not succeed. And you'll think, yeah, I will. Yeah, and you may for a minute. It's like people that take steroids. They're like, well, look what I can do on that, right? And what they don't account for is what that's doing to their body, what that's doing to their mind, what that's doing to their reputation, how that's affecting their family. This whole idea of short-term gains for long-term sacrifices is not a good idea. It's short-term sacrifices for long-term gains. Okay, so think about that. Like, what is your plan going to be to rest every day, every week, every month, every quarter? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to make a plan? Is this something you already have in place? Is it something you don't have in place? Is it something you're really good at, or is this something you really struggle at? I promise you, the days that you unplug from your business, you unplug from your phone, are the days that you actually, when you come back to your business the next day, that's when the ideas start to flow. When I unplugged on Sunday, and even yesterday, I was just like, I did stuff for my business during the day, but at night, I've been working on my business at night. I was like, I can't, I'm just going to go to bed. And I woke up this morning with all these new ideas and clarity around my messaging and different target markets and all these different, that I felt so much clearer and actually got through stuff a lot faster than had I tried to push through it last night. So take the time, make a plan, a rest plan, and you have to be intentional about this. This is one of the things in grit, right? We talk about greatness, we talk about resilience, we talk about intention and traction. There's a reason why intention comes before traction, not just because it's grit, G-R-I-T, but intention has to come before traction, because if you're not intentional with what you do and where you're planning out your days with intention, if you also don't plan out your rest with intention, you won't gain traction. You might have short-term traction, but you won't have long-term consistency and longevity and traction for long-term success and sustainable success in your business. So be intentional. Figure out when you're resting every day, how much sleep you're getting. Start tracking it. Are you getting enough sleep? If you wear a Garmin watch or an Apple watch, it'll track it for you. Not always super accurate. Some nights I got 2 hours of sleep when my kids were babies, and it's like, you got 8 hours of sleep. I'm like, what planet are you on, Garmin? That is not correct. But track your sleep. Notice when you're going to bed. Are you on your phone? Did you set your phone aside so you can actually get good sleep? Because if you're like, well, I can't fall asleep. Well, if you're on your phone in your bed before you go to sleep, that's why. Okay, do the things you know to do. This isn't rocket science. You know to do these things. You know to put your phone down 20 minutes to a half hour before you go to bed, or even an hour would be better. Track your sleep for a week. See what happens. See what you're currently doing, and then change it. Try to go to bed earlier and see what happens the next week. See how you feel. And then track, are you taking a day off every week for the next month? Are you taking a day off every week? Are you not? The next quarter, what are you doing? Are you taking a weekend off? How are you planning this? Take inventory and then make a plan and move. Rest is not a 4-letter word. It's a very good thing for us. Like love. Love is a 4-letter word, but it is a good 4-letter word. So put rest in that good 4-letter word category. Make yourself a plan, because as entrepreneurs who are go-getters and as athletes, we know we need to rest. We just don't choose to do it. So just like you choose to be gritty, choose to rest, because rest is actually a very gritty thing you can do. Thank you for listening to the Be Gritty podcast, where sports psychology meets business strategy for entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a review and share it with other entrepreneurs. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly episodes. And dare to be gritty.